Hey, what is up, everybody? It is Ross Cessna coming at you live from Spiritual Phoenix Studios in Girard, Ohio. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I've actually done a live stream or done a reading because I've been so busy with everything and kind of adjusting to slowing down but accomplishing a lot. One of the things that I found out, and then I'll get into all of these readings, is I have ADHD on top of everything else that I have going on. So it can be really problematic and stressful to try to do the hustle lifestyle for me. So I've really had to transition to a more reasonable and self-care approach to all of this stuff. So I'm finally getting some of that stuff out of the way. One of the things that I was working on that was creating some stress for me was the foundational research for a big tarot class. Got that done so we can get into everything. So it's the first day of Mercury Retrograde. And I know that in these communities, people make a big to-do about Mercury Retrograde, but it really comes down to what is it all about? One of the things that I want to say is Mercury Retrograde really isn't that big of a deal if you've been doing a lot of the personal work. Now, if you haven't been doing a lot of personal work, a lot of things are going to come up and trigger you. But there's this big trend in spiritual circles to write all of your own personal problems off as Mercury Retrograde when it's really not you addressing and taking action that you need to move your life forward. And Mercury Retrograde is giving you not so gentle hints as to how to do that. Granted, sometimes things do come up, but one of the things with that is it's trying to teach you a lesson. Learn the lesson, move on. I like to make it kind of like this, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a refresher course before you move on to the final exam. This is the end of Mercury Retrograde is kind of the final exam. I've had a lot of weird occurrences happen, but most of the time it's just getting me to dial down on everything. So now we're going to get into some cards so I can quit rambling. This row up here is for my Aquarius in Sagittarius. Aquarius Suns, Sagittarius Moon. If you identify with one of those or the other, that's great. Also for air and fire signs in general up here. Down here we have the general collective. This is going to be a reading card for everybody overall. And then here we have one more reading card for everybody. This right here is a healing sigil that I've made. I've infused it with Reiki healing energy. If you want some healing energy, tap into it. If you want to leave some energy for other people, you can do that as well. What's ever clever. I'm going to do this first card for the general collective, and then we'll kind of go through everybody else. And it is the Death card. This is actually one of my favorite cards, and it's ironic that there was something about the Devil card coming up that I shared on Facebook earlier. But the Death card is one of these cards that a lot of people are afraid of. It doesn't obviously mean literal death. It means transformation, change, transition, like this energetic shift of moving from one phase to the next. Now, if you're being resistant to it, it can be incredibly problematic. Hey, what's up, Rekka Zhang? I will be doing readings today. After I get through this, I'm going to be doing it. But this is about this big transition or this big change that we'll be going through. And if you're resistant to it, it's going to be a lot more painful than if you go with the flow and if you lean into it. So it's kind of very synchronistic with Mercury Retrograde as a lot of these problems come up. If we're resistant to what's coming up and trying to push, it's going to be a lot more painful than if we go with the flow of everything and let stuff unfold naturally. So big thing to take away from this, everybody. Let what's changing change and move forward. That being said, we're going to get into the first card for our Aquarius in Sagittarius or air and fire signs. And we're going to do what this one is about mind. It's going to have something about our mental state that we need to focus on. And it's Temperance in the reverse. So Temperance is about balance, moderation. What's the other word that I'm thinking of here? Purpose as well. And this is kind of saying that you are not in alignment with that right now. There might be some disconnection there, tying that into death. It's time to let go of all of that and recenter yourself. I know there's some people that aren't fond of saying in alignment, And I don't mean in alignment with the destiny or things like that. I mean in alignment with yourself, living within integrity, having your actions, your thoughts, and your words all lined up. One of the things I like about this card in this deck in particular, we'll turn it right side up so we can see it more clearly, is this card is actually called Healing in this deck. And when you really begin to embody temperance and find that slowing down and finding that purpose and finding that balance in your life, you begin to heal so much more. Early on in my journey, I used to think that balance was bullshit and that harmony is where it's at. I still agree that harmony is a much better thing to achieve, because harmony is all the parts of your life working well together. Think of harmony in music, it's what sounds beautiful. But balance is attainable too. The thing about balance is oftentimes we try to overindulge in something to balance things out immediately. And balance is this slow moving towards the center where you have less and less sway either way. It's a lot of work, but it's very well worth it. So now we're going to transition to the reading card for the general collective on mind. It is the Five of Bones. It's Five of Wands in traditional tarot. I'm going to move it over here so you can see it so the glare isn't on it. I'm going to turn it right side up. Remember, it's a reversal. Five of Wands is normally about disagreement and strife. One of the interesting things about it in this deck is how it's represented with all of these different masks. And to me, this is being in disagreement or strife with ourselves. The reverse aspect of this is the intensity of that even more so. In traditional tarot, it's about conflict. And this aspect of conflict is usually minor quarrels with other people. The reverse aspect, again, intensifies it where it's kind of a more deep conflict with other people. But in this deck here, it's more so about having this conflict with ourselves. And the way that I would take that with everything else that I'm saying is, this is the projection of a conflict that is non-existent with other people that you're interacting with. So it comes down to creating our own problems. And with it being Mercury in retrograde, one of the things that we have to remember is sometimes our response is what creates the communication breakdown. It's not always the other person. Sometimes it's how we are approaching the situation originally that creates all of the disharmony. And bringing it to the Death card, we would just say that this is transitioning from the phase of seeking out these illusions and trying to battle with those illusions. So we've covered the mind for our Aquarius and Sagittarius, air and fire up here, general collective down here. Now we're going to move on to the body. And this is just like a message for your body or the action that you need to take. Think more tangible stuff. So for the general collective, we got the Hierophant. In this deck in particular, it's called the Chaser of Demons, or the Demon Hunter, I want to say, which is a really cool name. So traditional tarot, this card is actually about traditions and structure and going along to get along. And the way that I would take this is maintaining a routine, but when you filter it through the Death card, which is kind of residing over this, it's the transition away from your typical routine into something that might be more beneficial. Oftentimes we fall in this habit of doing what we've always done because it becomes comfortable and we don't have to think about it and there's not any real challenge in it. But it really becomes limiting in a big way. There's has to be a balance of incorporating new things and maintaining structure, and it has to be this constant process if you want to evolve. If you're okay kind of slowing down and settling into where you're at, that's wonderful. But one of the things about this card in the reverse, which is actually one of the few cards that's better in reverse, is when it's in reverse, it's about going against tradition and following your heart more so, and exploring your own truth rather than what's good for everybody else. So I think that that's an important message here too. This is one of the ones that we kind of want to transition to a more so reverse aspect. Final thing I'll say on this card is being the hunter of demons in regards to your body. Look for the habits that are limiting you, physical things that you're doing that are limiting your ability to be successful. And when you tie it into temperance or healing here, this begins to be about letting go of the habits that are throwing you out of balance. Oh, Rekka, you're a Sagittarius. Very, very cool. Anybody else listening, if you'd like to say hello, feel free to do so. We're going to transition over to the general collective now. For the collective, you have the Seven of Bows in reverse. So Seven of Bows would be Seven of Swords in traditional tarot. And that's about betrayal and deception. So it's about not seeing things clearly. I like the way that it's represented in this deck, or the energy of this deck, a little bit different than the traditional meaning. Because in this one, it's about pulling back, getting a higher perspective of situations, and looking at things more logically. So the reverse aspect of this, I would say, is tying it to the body. It honestly goes into unhealthy habits again in a very, very big way. The energies of this is very similar, but I would also say it's not looking at how you're living, not getting the higher perspective of things and looking at things from a more understood standpoint. And when you tie it into the color here too, you have yellow. Yellow is the color of the solar plexus chakra or navel chakra. It's about self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence. It's that driving force. And without that driving force lifting you up to get a higher perspective of things, you can't make different choices. So from a bodily perspective, it's saying pull back, center yourself, draw in the higher awareness. Now is the time to transform that. And then finally, we're going to look at the soul. So for the soul, for our Aquarius or Sagittarius or air and fire signs, we have the Queen of Swords. This is about a quick thinker or perceptive person. Typically, it's in the reverse. So the way that I would take this is spiritually, you're not looking at things very clearly right now. You're kind of running more on self-will or self-deception than tapping into the energetic force of the universe. And again, the Death card comes up. This Mercury Retrograde is going to be transitioning you from that phase into this more self-aware phase. The other thing about this card in reverse too is I would take it as somewhat anxiety, overthinking, reacting irrationally and creating more problems from it. So slow down, look at things a little bit more clearly, look at things a little bit more holistically, and allow some space in everything. It doesn't have to be this frantic run to getting results. What's up, 3 people there? Once I get through these last couple cards, I'll do some quick readings for everybody if they're interested. Only 2 more to go, so hang in there. Hopefully this is helpful for you, just the general information. And then for the general collective in regards to soul, we have the Strength card in reverse. So Strength card is really about strength, courage, in some ways too, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it, so we're just going to move on. I'm having a brain fart. But the general concept of this is you're not applying enough courage to exploring yourself spiritually. It's the way that I would take this. And the reason that I would say that is oftentimes in these circles, people fall into this love and light paradigm, and they don't ever go into some of the more uncomfortable places of their spirit. And that's where most of the actual work and healing and power comes from. And it's not from doing things with the shadow, it's from healing the shadow side and learning how to harness some of that power for the benefit of everybody else around you. And one of the analogies that I like to do for how we want to work with our shadow is look at the anime Bleach. If you've never seen it, it's a phenomenal way of explaining what we want to do with the shadow. Basic premise is this character has this dark energy within him that he learns to harness for good to help protect his friends and to help protect everybody else around him. So if we're only focusing on loving light, we're tapping into 50% of our power. If we're only focusing on darkness, we're tapping into 50% of our power. If we learn how to homogenize the two and use them for good, we're operating on a level of power most people never access. It's incredibly intimidating, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of inner strength and personal resolve, but it's 100% possible and doable. So my general collective has a pretty heavy thing right there. And this is showing that with the Death card, you're going to be transitioning to learning how to harness that power. Then we come into the final card for everybody, and it's Ascended Masters. Can't really see it clearly because of the glare. We'll move that over. Snow Owl, really seeing through the darkness in some way, also kind of blending into the light. But Ascended Masters obviously is saying that there's some kind of other force driving us, pushing us forward, giving us information. The main thing that we have to do is learn to slow down and learn to listen to it. So oftentimes we mistake intuition for trauma. I think I reversed that. We mistake trauma for intuition, and we operate on a bunch of old information that has never served us well, and it begins to more and more reduce our world until we're kind of stuck in the same Hierophant energy of being in the same routine, following these traditions that don't serve us. So this is kind of time to rely on that more. Let me put it this way. If Mercury retrograde is about this communication breakdown and all of these difficulties and travels, this is the time when you want to extend your energetic attention upwards and get more clarity and vision from whatever your personal belief structure is. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to go to the comments now and see if anybody would like a card, and we'll go from there. Hello, beautiful soul. What's up, Heather Life? Are you still there? Can't really check the comments and read as I do it because it becomes somewhat chaotic. If anybody is there and would like a card while I'm still here, feel free to shoot now. Shoot your shot. Free cards for all those involved. Be on for about another 5-10 minutes or so. And I'll give anybody who answers or shoots me a question a card while I'm able to. And for my Facebook people, if you would like a card, I would ask that you share this video on your timeline or in a group or two, because that would greatly help me out. We'll wait a couple more minutes. Heather Life. Yes, you are still here. What's your question about? What would you like to know, Heather? And again, the general thing that I ask is that you like the video and share it with people for a card. And if you give me a donation, you will be bumped up and you will not have to wait in line. So we'll wait for Heather real quick and see what she says. Anybody else, if you're listening and you want a card, ask for a card. I'll help you out there. Also, if you ask for a card, put your question in the comment too, so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. That's actually a really horrible expression. Yeah, Adrian, you can definitely have a card. I would just ask your question now. Everybody, if you're tuning in and you want a card, whatever general message is needed for Heather. Okay, great. So you got 3 of Pentacles or 3 of Drums in this deck. We'll kind of do it from 2 different things. On one hand, this is about collaboration and teamwork. It's learning how to work with other people in a better way. It's getting more comfortable with allowing other people into your life. And also, what's the word I'm looking for? Understanding you don't have to do everything alone. Learning how to take help. I think a lot of people struggle with that. In this deck in particular, we'll do this message as well because I think that there's a little bit of different energy from both of them. It's about pulling back, getting out of the city and kind of connecting with nature more and learning to listen to the rhythm of your soul and tapping into your spirit guides more so and getting connection with that. Hope that helps, Heather. I'm going to give you one more card And Adrian, if you're still there and you would like a card, let me know. The other card that came up for you, Heather, is the Fear card. And the way that I would take that, given with everything else, is it shows you might have a fear of taking time off, or a fear of relaxing, fear of letting people in and working with you. And you need to address it, because fear will limit your ability to achieve so much in life. You have to get more comfortable with just being you, and with letting people in. Anybody else out there want a card while I'm still here? And Adrian, if you can or Heather, if you can let me know how that was. Yeah, Christina, I'll get you a card too. So if what would you like your card on? Anybody here, if you want a card, let me know what you want your card on, and please share this video somewhere. Oh no, the sunlight kind of messed up my thing. Give me 1 second. I'm going to change where the blind is. Oh no, that made it darker. Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, let me answer Adrian's question, then I'm going to get you, Christina. Should you continue the relationship you're sort of having? So let me see here. I mean, the card is somewhat, the cards are neutral. So Four of Cups, neutral. Wheel of Fortune is a yes. Sun is always a yes, but it's in the reverse, so I'm going to say no. Here's the thing. The cards are neutral, but I would ask you this. You said the relationship you're sort of having. That doesn't really sound like a relationship. It sounds like you're settling for substantially less than you deserve. And if we go through the cards, which we will do, you have Four of Cups. Four of Cups really is about contemplation and apathy. It's typically this character who is sitting next to a tree with a cup. The universe is handing them something, but they're not kind of taking it. I would take that as you're giving this person a lot more than what you're getting back, and ultimately they're not going to appreciate or respect you in a meaningful way. So it's probably something you should move away from. You transition to the Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune really is all about karma and destiny, and it's kind of saying that maybe this is what you're supposed to go through to help you get more clear on what you do want from somebody, so you're not settling for less than you deserve. And then you transition to the Sun card in the reverse that says, even though this might not work out how you want it to, overall it's going to be a positive experience. It doesn't have to be a big emotional separation, and that you can move on, find somebody better suited for you, and that this is actually going to help you along your way of getting what you want. Hope that helps. Yeah, that's a very good point, Christina. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And then for Christina, we'll do a career reading. I'm going to give you 3 cards real quick, too. So it's not looking very good for you. You have the Devil card, which is about addiction, bondage, betrayal. Not betrayal, sorry about that. Addiction and bondage. Also kind of staying in a situation that doesn't serve you. Focusing on the base instincts. One of the things that I would say about this, too, is if you look at all the masks, to me that is somebody that you're either working with, or the job itself where it makes you become multiple people. This can be really unhelpful and chaotic for your spirit, so you really need to address that. But I would say you might be in need of a career change. You transition to the World card in reverse. The World card is the end of one phase and the beginning of another. In reverse, though, it says that you might not have the self-confidence in order to move forward or make this big change, make this big leap. But it's saying that you need to, and then eventually you will overcome it, because even in the reverse, the World card kind of says the inertia of the situation will pull you forward. This is just a slight delay in making that transition. And then you have the Nine of Wands come up. Nine of Wands really is about resilience and persistence, typically. And I would say that it's about moving through all of this. But in this deck in particular, I like to say that this is about fear. And one of the things about the fear in this card, you might not be able to see it clearly, The face of this character here is the same face as that character there. So all the fear is self-projected. And if you notice here, there's the blue. It's them communicating their fear into the red, which is reality. Then you have the shades of orange there, which is, again, creation, or that sacral chakra energy, creation, emotion. Then you have the yellow there, sense of self. So you're creating this fear, projecting it onto the world, and it's blocking your sense of self in an unhealthy way. Make the career change when you're ready. Change is happening. Just go with it. Does that all make sense, Christina? Anybody else there before I hop off of here? I'm going to be on for about 4 more minutes. Trying to do a 30-minute set, so we'll see what comes up. All right, cool gamer. I get it, you're not there. That's cool. I'm going to give Cool Gamer a card even though they don't want one. Just because they chose to say something. You have the Page of Wands come up. It's about enthusiasm and discovery in reverse. It means you kind of lack enthusiasm for discovering new things, set in your ways. You might need to expand your horizons a little bit. So there's 4 other people that are coming on now. Anybody else want a card or anything like that in the last 3 minutes of me being on here? Anybody else? I'm cool with just sitting here for a couple more minutes. So I'm going to draw another card. We've got Medicine Power. That's just the ability to heal, to share energy with other people. It goes into the whole concept of, in order to heal, you have to heal yourself first. Most people are too lazy to actually do the work to truly heal, and they'd rather gloss over it with the new age, love and light, positivity stuff. Actual healing is messy, unpleasant, and uncomfortable, and a real spiritual awakening is a lot more terrifying than most people would like to experience, but you can get through it. So we had a couple more people join, a couple people left too. Didn't like the truth. I get it. I completely get it. So let's see. We got 2 more minutes. Anybody else? Who else is watching there that says there's one person who is still paying attention? Oh. Anybody else? Hey, what's up? If you just tuned in, if you want a card, go ahead and ask. Shoot your shot. Hey, what's up, Rekka? You're going to be my last person. What's your question? What is your question, Rekka? Let me check Facebook to see if it's coming through, because sometimes all this stuff doesn't come through. General reading. Okay. We can do that for you. So you got the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Ace of Pentacles is about manifestation and prosperity. This is general concept of this is you're kind of blocking your blessings by pushing a little bit too much. Ease up, let things flow more fluidly, and you got to find your own rhythm instead of living for the rhythm of other people. You really got to follow your heart a little bit more and less of what other people want. I'm going to give you another card as well. It's the Balance card in this deck. One of the things that I like about this card is it's this character who is a mermaid. So in esotericism, water is about your emotions and kind of the psychic gifts that we might possess. This is a person who's able to navigate their emotions and their psychic gifts very well. One of the most helpful things you can do to benefit your life and kind of increase your personal power or your ability to use psychic gifts is deal with your emotions. As we begin to heal our emotions and get into a better space internally, we clear up some of the energy channels and we're able to perceive reality in a much better way. And this allows us to get better results. So the one thing that I would ask you, Rekha, is to slow down, create more time to relax, listen to your heart more. If you notice the yellow there, give yourself a little bit more respect and compassion. And you're going to start seeing big results from it. So I hope that this was helpful for you, Rekha, and I hope that you have a blessed day and peace. I'm out of here.